Hey everyone, it's Bubba, and I just wanted to take a few minutes and share my only God story with you. My only God story that influenced me the most, I've had several of them in my life, but the one that impacted me most was when my mom passed away when I was a senior in high school. And obviously that would have a huge influence in anybody's life, but God did something really awesome through that experience, and I'll talk about that. But to tell you about the impact that I have to bring you back and kind of give you a side story to really give you reference for what took place. But when I was in seventh grade, I got invited to go to a church camp. And, I had grown up going to church, but I hated it. I never wanted to go to church. I didn't care about God. And so I go to this church camp, not really knowing what to expect. I thought maybe I'd see some cute girls and have a good time. But I got there, and the speakers spoke the word of God. My counselors encouraged me. We spent time in the Bible every day and in small group settings, and it was absolutely awesome. And the last day of camp, I ended up talking with my camp counselor, and he led me to God. And I prayed a prayer with him and made Jesus the Lord of my life, and it was a great time. And after that moment, I just got super on fire for God. I got hooked up in a great church. And actually, I knew in seventh grade I was called to ministry. I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I was really excited about it. In fact, I would hang out with the pastor at the church and ask him all I could about the Bible. And it was just awesome. It was an awesome, awesome time. And as time passed on, I started hanging out with some friends that just got into some bad stuff. And long story short, I got into drugs when I was a freshman in high school. And I remember walking to school at the beginning of my freshman year, and you have to fill out those little cards that your teachers give you that ask you, all of your information, and then they ask you, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? And I remember that I wrote that I wanted to be a pastor on there, and I turned it in, and I just forgot about it, didn't think of it twice until the end of the year. And by the end of the year, I had stopped going to church, and I was doing drugs every day, and thinking I was having the time of my life. And I remember coming into school stoned near the end of the year, and I got that card back, and it said that I wanted to be a pastor, and I totally forgot about it, and I just laughed. I was like, are you serious? Like, I want to be a pastor. I showed all my friends, and they all laughed too, and through that, I got into some heavier stuff, and just a crazy couple of years. And I got to the point where I just didn't believe in God at all anymore, and I wanted nothing to do with him, just totally walked away from him. So, no big deal, right? I'm enjoying life. Well, as I said, senior year, my mom had been ill since I was 10 years old. In my senior year, she got really, really bad, and long story short, without going into too many details, my mom passed away. And obviously that was a very difficult experience for me. It was very tough. But to be honest with you, I saw her suffer so much that in one sense it was almost good to see her go, if you know what I mean. And just after seeing all the pain. But when she passed away, I remember, running to drugs and drinking and parties and all that to try to fill that pain and fill that void. But when I really got down to it, and I thought about it, the thing that was tormenting me the most was I didn't know if my mom ever knew God. I didn't know if she had a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And to be honest with you, I didn't know why that bothered me, because I didn't care about God. But every night, it didn't matter if I was drunk, it didn't matter if I was at a party with a million people, that little thought just kept tormenting my heart. You'll never know. You'll never know if she's saved. You'll never know. I wonder if she was. And I would drive myself crazy. I'm thinking, I'm never going to know. I'm going to spend the rest of my life in torment not knowing if my mom ever knew Jesus. And so for 3 months I suffered. And 3 months later, it was in December, I get a phone call one day. And I picked up the phone, and I didn't know who it was. And the girl on the other line, she actually said, Doug, you probably don't know me, but I'm your cousin. I have a pretty large family. And she said, I feel kind of weird calling you, but I really feel like God wanted me to call you and tell you something. And I just thought, oh, great, So I listened, and she said, Doug, I was a nurse in the hospital with your mom while she was there a couple weeks before she died, and I got to share Jesus with her every day, and she gave her heart to the Lord. And I just felt like God wanted me to let you know that. And I don't know what the rest of the conversation was that day. All I remember is hanging up the phone and hitting my knees and crying out to God, God, here I am. I'm devoting the rest of my life to you, no matter what. Thank you. And it was out of that I started going to a Bible study. that led to me going to a church camp, which led to me interning at my church, which ultimately led to me getting on staff at my church. And it's been an absolutely incredible journey. But I'll never forget that moment as long as I live. It changed the course of my life. It was my only God moment. Only God could have had my cousin call me and out of the blue and tell me that she was a nurse, and only God could have hooked that up. And that's my only God moment, and I hope it encourages you. And below there's a video, just some thoughts on that. But I hope it encourages you. I love you guys so much. Thanks for listening.